Sometimes, the kindest hearts belong to those the world never sees. This is the story of Daru, a donkey everyone ignored, laughed at, and pushed aside. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the strongest, but he carried something that others didn't, a heart brave enough to help even the ones who hurt him. Before we begin this emotional journey, hit like and subscribe, because stories like this remind us what true strength really is. The sun rose in gentle streaks of gold across the countryside, illuminating rolling green hills, wildflowers swaying in the morning air, and dusty footpaths carved by generations of animals traveling peacefully. This land was home to every creature, cows grazing lazily, goats darting over rocky slopes, sheep nestled on soft meadows, and horses galloping freely through open fields. But in one quiet corner of the farmland lived Daru, a young donkey with long ears, soft gray fur, and wide, thoughtful eyes that always seemed to absorb more of the world than the others did. Daru was gentle, Daru was patient, and Daru was endlessly kind. But none of that mattered to the other animals. To them, he was just a donkey, a slow, clumsy, unimportant creature whose life, they believed, had no potential for greatness. Every morning, Daru watched the strong horses trot proudly through the fields. "Come on, Blaze," the farmer would shout to the biggest stallion. "Show them your speed." Blaze would neigh proudly and sprint across the plains with blinding speed, leaving clouds of dust behind him. The goats would cheer, the sheep would bleat in admiration, even the chickens would cluck in excitement. But when Daru walked past, carrying small baskets of vegetables or water without complaint, no one even looked his way. Some goats whispered as he passed, "He's so slow. Donkeys aren't good for anything fun. Why does he try so hard?" Daru lowered his ears each time. He wanted to be accepted, not admired, not praised, just appreciated. But kindness, he realized early, rarely stands out. It blends into the background, just as he did. Still, Daru kept doing what he did best, helping anyone who needed him. He carried water buckets for elderly sheep. He pulled small carts for tired goats. He helped the farmers' children reach high branches for apples. He never complained. He never asked for favors. He never expected anything in return. And yet, he always felt alone. One sunny afternoon, a new animal arrived, a sleek, confident mare named Sable, elegant, tall, and breathtaking. She instantly became the center of admiration. Blaze, the prideful stallion, strutted around her. "You must be impressed," he said, flipping his mane. "I'm the fastest horse in the entire countryside." Sable smiled politely. "Speed isn't everything." The animals gasped. Blaze snorted. "Well, what else matters?" Sable looked around and spotted Daru quietly carrying heavy baskets of carrots on his back. "That," she said gently, "matters." All the animals turned. Daru froze mid-step, almost dropping the baskets. Blaze scoffed loudly. He's slow, weak, a donkey." Sable narrowed her eyes. "Strength isn't about speed, it's about heart." But her words only made Blaze angrier. "You think heart matters more than strength?" He growled. "Fine. Tomorrow morning, we'll have a competition. The strongest animal wins. That will show you who really matters here." The animals cheered at the idea. Daru tried to step away quietly, but Blaze cornered him. "You'll join too." "Donkey," Blaze smirked. "Unless you're too scared." Daru's ears drooped. "But I'm not strong like you." "Exactly," Blaze snapped. "Everyone needs to see the difference." Daru swallowed hard. He didn't want to compete. He didn't want attention. He didn't want to be humiliated in front of everyone, but he also didn't want to appear cowardly, so he nodded silently. Sable watched him with soft concern, but Daru looked away. He was used to being underestimated. He was used to being overlooked at. But tomorrow, the whole farm would see just how weak he was. That night, a storm rolled in from the mountains. Rain hammered the earth. Thunder cracked across the sky. Animals huddled inside their barns. All except Daru. He couldn't sleep. He stood outside beneath the roof edge, watching lightning split the sky, feeling drops of rain roll down his fur. His thoughts were heavy. Why did I agree? They will laugh even more. Why can't I be strong like Blaze? As he stared into the storm, a faint sound drifted to his ears, a whimper, then again and again. Daru's ears perked sharply. Someone was crying, without hesitation. He followed the sound through the storm-soaked hills until he reached the river, swollen and violent from the rain. And there, shivering on a slippery rock, was a tiny lamb. "Help," she cried. "I'm stuck." Daru's heart pounded. The river was fast. The rain made the ground dangerous. Even Blaze wouldn't attempt a rescue in such conditions. But Daru didn't think twice. He climbed down the muddy slope, slipping and stumbling, but never stopping. Carefully, he nudged the trembling lamb onto his back. "Hold tight," he said softly. The lamb wrapped her small legs around his neck. Daru climbed slowly, the mud sliding beneath him. Rain blinded his vision. Wind pushed him sideways. But step by step, he moved, not fast, not gracefully, not easily, but steadily. When he reached safe ground, the lamb burst into sobs of relief. "You saved me. No one else heard me." Daru smiled gently. "I heard you." He carried her all the way home through freezing rain, ignoring the storm's fury. By the time he reached the barn, Every animal stared in astonishment. The farmer rushed out and scooped the lamb into his arms. "You saved her, Daru," he breathed, overwhelmed. "If you hadn't found her, she wouldn't have survived the night." Every animal stared silently. Daru looked down, embarrassed by the attention. He hadn't done it to be praised. He had done it because kindness was his way of living. Because helping others was what made him feel alive. But Blaze, standing in the corner, scowled with darkened eyes. He had expected Daru to hide in fear before tomorrow's competition, not become a quiet hero. The next morning, after the storm had cleared, the competition field was crowded. Sheep bleated excitedly. Goats climbed fences to get a better view. Chickens fluttered onto haystacks. Horses lined up to impress Sable. Blaze stood proudly in front, muscles gleaming. "Let's begin," he announced loudly, but the crowd wasn't looking at him. They were looking at Daru, still damp from last night's storm, still tired, still quiet, but standing with surprising dignity. Whispers spread. He rescued the lamb. He braved the storm alone. He carried her all the way back. "I didn't know donkeys were that brave." Blaze's jaw tightened. He stomped toward Daru. "This competition will show everyone your real worth." Blaze hissed. "You're still nothing." Daru said nothing. He didn't need to argue. Today, actions would speak louder than strength. The rain-washed fields glistened in the morning sunlight as the animals gathered for the much-anticipated competition. The air was alive with excitement. Every creature, big and small, pushed in closer to see who would prove themselves the strongest, the fastest, the most impressive. But there was one animal who didn't stand among the crowd. He stood behind them, quietly small, weathered, tired from the storm. Daru. His fur still carried traces of mud. His eyelids were heavy. His legs ached from the dangerous rescue he had done the night before. But when the lamb he had saved peeked from the barn and bleated softly for him, Daru lifted his head. Even in exhaustion, kindness gave him strength. Meanwhile, Blaze walked across the field like a king, returning to his throne, his coat polished to a shine, mane-combed hooves, stomping with confidence. The crowd cheered as he passed. Sable, the new mare, stood silently at the fence, eyes observing everything. The farmer raised his whistle. "Animals, prepare. Today's tests will show not just strength, but endurance and character." Blaze smirked. Character didn't matter to him. Winning did. Several logs were placed on the field, each increasing in size. "This will test strength," the farmer announced. "Pull your log across the finish line." Blaze stepped up first. With thunderous steps, he pulled the heaviest log like it weighed nothing. The crowd erupted. "Blaze, Blaze, Blaze." Next came smaller animals, goats, sheep, cows, even Sable, who pulled her log with elegant ease. Then it was Daru's turn. He stood before the smallest log, the one meant for beginners, or the weak. But not even that log looked easy today. His muscles trembled. His legs still stung from the storm rescue. His face showed fatigue. The crowd whispered, "He's too tired. He shouldn't even try. He saved the lamb. That should be enough." But Daru inhaled slowly and pulled. The log didn't move. Blaze chuckled loudly. "Already failing, donkey." Daru planted his hooves. Again, he pulled harder. The log shifted just a tiny inch. Animals gasped. "Dar, you strained again." He wasn't fast. He wasn't strong, but he was determined. He leaned his entire body weight into the strap, inch by inch, dragging the log forward. Each pull was a battle, each step a struggle. Sweat dampened his fur as his breath grew ragged, but he didn't stop. The lamb he saved watched with wide, hopeful eyes. Slowly, painfully, Daru pulled the log across the finish line. Silence fell. Then, a small group of sheep clapped their hooves softly. A couple of chickens flapped their wings in applause. Even Sable smiled with quiet admiration. Blaze glared, annoyed that Daru had stolen even a fraction of the attention. "Next," the farmer said, "speed around the field." Blaze trotted to the starting line, confident, head high. Dar, you followed, ears low, knowing full well how this test would end. The whistle blew. Blaze shot forward like lightning, his hooves barely touching the ground. Daru started, slowly, very slowly. As the other animals ran past him, dust rising behind them, Daru remained at the very back, moving one thoughtful step at a time. Goats bleated as they passed. Sheep looked back sympathetically. Chickens giggled, but Daru didn't stop. He wasn't running to win. He wasn't running to impress. He was running because he promised he would try. Halfway around the field, the lamb he saved bleated loudly from the barn. "Go, don't stop." He smiled faintly and kept going. When Blaze finished first, the crowd roared in celebration. When Daru finished last, many had turned away. But not Sable. She stepped closer. "You didn't quit," she said softly. Daru looked down shyly. "I'm not fast like Blaze." "That doesn't matter," she said. "You didn't stop. That makes you stronger than you know." Before Daru could reply, Blaze marched over, anger burning in his eyes. "Enough of this nonsense," he snapped. "Strength means winning. Finishing last is losing. End of story." Daru didn't argue. He simply looked at Blaze with calm, kind eyes that held no hate. And Blaze hated that. The farmer blew his whistle again. "Last test. This one is different. It is not about strength, speed, or power. Blaze snorted in confusion. The farmer continued. It is about heart. You must help another animal complete an obstacle course. Choose a partner. Immediately, the strong animals paired with other strong animals, goats paired with goats, horses with horses, cows with cows. Daru stood alone. No one rushed to join him. Then, a tiny voice bleated, I'll be his partner. The little lamb from last night wobbled forward on her small legs. Blaze scoffed. Of course, the weakest with the weakest. The course was challenging. Steep hills, narrow bridge, Pachesterney bushes and a final water crossing. Strong pairs dashed forward immediately. Blaze and his partner soared through the obstacles with speed and arrogance. He pushed, pulled, dragged, and shouted commands. Daru and the lamb moved slowly, very slowly, but gently, patiently, da. You helped her climb every hill, letting her hold onto his mane. When she slipped on mud, he lowered his body for her to climb on his back. When she got scared near narrow bridges, he talked softly until she crossed. When she cried after scratching her leg on thorns, he licked the wound, comfortingly. Every step took longer. Every moment required kindness. And kindness takes time. At the final crossing, the lamb froze. The stream was deeper today, fast from last night's storm. I can't do it, she cried. Daru kneeled. Yes, you can, he whispered, and I'll be with you. He walked beside her slowly. Water splashed around them. The current pushed hard. The lamb trembled, nearly slipping, but Daru nudged her gently. One more step, he encouraged. One step, then another, and another. They crossed. The crowd fell silent. The farmer raised his hand. Blaze finished first, he announced, and Daru finished last. Blaze smirked triumphantly. But, the farmer added, this final test was not about finishing first. It was about compassion, helping others without giving up. Blaze's smile faded. The farmer looked at Daru. You showed true strength. The strength of kindness. The entire field went quiet. Daru blinked in surprise. The lamb nuzzled him. Lovingly, Blaze stepped forward in fury. This is ridiculous. I was the fastest. I was the strongest. I won. But the farmer shook his head. Today, kindness wins. The crowd murmured in amazement. Some even clapped softly. But Blaze wasn't finished. With eyes burning in humiliation, he whispered, this isn't over, donkey. I'll prove I'm the only leader this farm needs. And he walked away, rage simmering, jealousy growing, darkness brewing. Daru watched him go, unaware that Blaze's pride was about to create a crisis no one expected. A crisis only Daru could solve. A crisis that would reveal what true strength really looks like. The wind swept gently across the fields that evening, but something was different in the air. The excitement of the competition had faded. The animals returned to their routines. But Blaze was nowhere to be seen. Sable was the first to notice. He's gone, she said softly. He left after the competition. The goats shrugged. He'll come back. Blaze always wanders when he's angry. But Sable didn't look convinced. There was something wrong in his eyes. Something dangerous. Daru, standing quietly with the little lamb beside him, felt a twist of worry in his chest. Blaze wasn't just upset. He was humiliated. His pride shattered. And pride, when wounded, becomes unpredictable. As the sun dipped below the hills, Daru heard the farmer speaking anxiously. The northern cliffs are unstable after last night's storm. He warned his dogs. Make sure no animal wanders near there. Daru's ears perked sharply. Northern cliffs, the same direction. Blaze had stormed off toward. Daru swallowed. Blaze was arrogant, but not foolish. He wouldn't go near those cliffs, would he? Sable approached him, worry in her eyes. Daru, can you go check? The others won't listen to me. Daru blinked. Me? Yes, you're the only one Blaze will respond to. Not because he respects you, but because you don't threaten him. Daru hesitated. He was tired. His legs still ached. His heart felt heavy. But when someone needs help, Daru never looks away. He nodded. The sky grew darker as Daru walked toward the northern cliffs. Wind howled through the rocky hills. The ground was slippery from last night's storm. Daru called out, Blaze, where are you? No answer. He climbed higher, carefully placing his hooves on the safest rocks. At one steep turn, the wind nearly knocked him sideways. Still, he continued. He didn't resent Blaze. He wasn't afraid of Blaze. He simply knew someone was hurting and needed help. And kindness was the only language Daru knew. A faint sound reached his ears. Up, cried Dot. Then another. Daru's heart jumped. Blaze. Daru climbed faster now, slipping several times. Finally, he reached a high ledge. John froze. There, trapped between two jagged rocks, was Blaze, his hoof lodged deeply, unable to move. The stallion's eyes were wide with fear. Blaze gasped, trembling. I can't get out. And the ground, it's crumbling. Indeed, the cliff edge beneath Blaze cracked loudly with each movement. One wrong shift, and Blaze would fall into the ravine below. Daru moved forward slowly. Don't move, he said softly. Blaze's voice cracked. I didn't mean to come this far. I couldn't think. His pride was gone. His strength had failed him. His fear was raw. Dar, you reached the trapped hoof. You're hurt, he whispered. Blaze shut his eyes, ashamed. I mocked you, I insulted you, and now you are the one saving me. Daru didn't respond. He simply pulled. The hoof wouldn't budge. The cliff rumbled. Dar, you pushed his shoulder beneath Blaze for support. Lean on me, Daru whispered. Blaze choked. Daru, you'll fall. Daru looked at him with those gentle, unwavering eyes. I'm not leaving you here. Daru braced himself against the cliff, pressing his body hard against Blaze's heavy weight. Then, with a deep breath, he pulled Blaze's hoof free. The stallion stumbled, nearly falling, but Daru held him. Lean on me, Daru said again, breath shaking. Slowly, painfully, carefully, he guided Blaze away from the crumbling edge. Finally, they reached solid ground. Blaze collapsed, shaking uncontrollably. Saved my life, he whispered. After everything I did to you, you still helped me. Daru sat beside him, exhausted. You needed help, Daru said simply. That's all that matters. Blaze stared at him, really stared. For the first time, he saw the truth. Kindness is the greatest strength of all. Blaze couldn't walk alone. His hoof was swollen and bruised, so Daru knelt. Climb on, he said calmly. Blaze blinked in disbelief. You want me to ride on you? Yes, Daru nodded. You're hurt? Blaze hesitated, pride flickering, but he was too weak to resist. He climbed gently onto Daru's back. The donkey grunted under the weight. Blaze was twice as heavy, but he didn't complain. Step by step, Daru carried the horse down the hill. As they approached the farm, gasps rang out. Daru carried Blaze. He saved him. After all the insults, Daru is incredible. Sable smiled through teary eyes. The little lamb ran to Daru's side. The farm gathered around as Blaze limped down and addressed them all. With a shaky breath, Blaze spoke the words no one expected. I was strong in body, but weak in heart. And this donkey, this gentle, brave donkey has more strength than I ever will. Blaze bowed his head before Daru. The entire farm fell silent. Never in history had a proud stallion bowed to a donkey. Days passed. Blaze healed slowly. Leaning on Daru often, he apologized again and again, but Daru always smiled kindly, saying, It's forgiven, let's move forward. Soon, the animals began seeking Daru's help more often, not because he was physically strong, but because they trusted him. You can fix muscles. You can grow speed. You can train strength, but a caring heart is something rare, and Daru had the rarest heart of all. One morning, the farmer gathered all the animals. He placed a small garland of wildflowers around Daru's neck. You have shown this farm, he said softly, that strength means nothing without kindness. You saved lives. You never gave up. You helped without asking. You are the heart of this farm. The animals cheered, even Blaze, even the goats, who once mocked him, even the chickens who once laughed. The little lamb pressed against his leg lovingly. Daru lowered his head shyly. He didn't save Blaze to be praised. He didn't help the lamb for attention. He wasn't kind for reward. He was kind because that was who he was. And now, the whole farm finally understood. True strength is not measured by how fast you run, how loud you shout, or how powerful you appear. True strength is the kindness you give, even when the world gives you nothing back. Daru looked across the farm, his home, his friends, the ones he had helped for the first time in his life. He didn't feel unnoticed. He didn't feel small. He didn't feel alone. He felt valued, and as the sun rose behind him, painting the world in gold, Daru walked forward, not as the weakest animal on the farm, but as the one with the strongest heart. If Daru's story touched your heart today, I'd love to know something. Which country are you watching from? Your comments show how far kindness can travel. And if this story meant something to you, please take 1 second to like the video. It helps this message of kindness reach more people who need hope. And tell me in the comments, which animal story should I create next? Your idea might become our next emotional journey. Thank you for being here. You're part of this family now.